Okay, so I'm standing in the middle of a medieval village in the year 1347, and I can already tell something is very wrong here. The streets are quieter than they should be. There are fewer people around, and everyone I see looks terrified. That's because I've arrived right at the beginning of one of the deadliest pandemics in human history, the Black Death. Hi, I'm back. I'm a time traveler, and today I'm documenting what it was actually like to live through the plague that killed between 75 and 200 million people across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. This is not going to be easy to watch, but it's important. Let's go. So I woke up this morning in a small cottage on the outskirts of a village in what will eventually be England. The family I'm staying with is a husband, wife, and 3 children, and they're all healthy right now. But they've heard the rumors people are dying in the cities to the south. Entire towns are being wiped out. And the sickness is spreading north. The father pulled me aside this morning and asked if I knew anything about the plague. I told him what I could without revealing too much. I said it's spread by fleas on rats, that it causes fever, swelling, and death, and that there's no cure. He looked at me like I was insane. He thinks it's God's punishment for sin. That's what everyone thinks. Alright, so let me explain what's actually happening here. The Black Death is caused by a bacterium called Yersinia pestis. It's carried by fleas that live on black rats. And when those rats die, the fleas jump to humans. Once you're infected, you develop bubonic plague, which causes painful swelling in your lymph nodes, high fever, chills, and eventually death. The mortality rate is around 60 to 80% if untreated. But here's the terrifying part. The plague can also become pneumonic, which means it spreads through the air. If someone coughs near you, you can catch it. And pneumonic plague is almost always fatal. It kills you in 2 to 3 days. So that's what I'm walking into. A world where death is everywhere, where no one understands what's causing it, and where there's absolutely nothing anyone can do to stop it. Okay, so I'm heading into the village now to see what's happening. The streets are muddy and narrow, and there are fewer people out than there should be. Normally, a village like this would be bustling with activity in the morning, but today it's almost silent. I just passed a house with a red cross painted on the door. That's the mark of plague. It means someone inside is sick, and no one is allowed to enter or leave. The family is quarantined. I can hear someone coughing inside. It's a deep, wet cough that sounds like it's tearing their lungs apart. That's pneumonic plague. Alright, so I'm at the village square now, and there's a crowd gathered around the church. The priest is standing on the steps, giving a sermon. Let me get closer and hear what he's saying. Okay, so he's telling everyone that the plague is God's punishment for their sins. He's saying they need to repent, pray, and make offerings to the church if they want to be saved. People are crying, some are on their knees. They're terrified, and they have no idea what's really happening. This is one of the most tragic parts of the Black Death. People didn't understand germ theory. They didn't know about bacteria or fleas or rats. They thought it was divine punishment, bad air, or the alignment of the planets. So they turned to religion, superstition, and desperate measures that didn't work. Alright, so I just talked to a woman who lost her husband 3 days ago. She said he developed a fever, then swelling in his neck and armpits, and then he started coughing up blood. He died within 48 hours. She's terrified she's next. Her children are terrified. And there's nothing I can say to comfort her, because she probably is next. Okay, so I'm walking through the village now, and I'm seeing more red crosses on doors. More houses are quarantined. More families are trapped inside with sick relatives. The smell is getting worse. It's a mix of smoke, rot, and something sweet and sickly that I can't quite place. That's the smell of death. I just saw a cart being pulled through the street by 2 men wearing cloth masks over their faces. The cart is full of bodies. Dead bodies wrapped in cloth, stacked on top of each other like firewood. The men are shouting, "Bring out your dead!" And people are coming out of their houses with more bodies. It's horrifying. This is how they're dealing with the dead. There are too many to bury individually, so they're being taken to mass graves outside the village. Entire families are being thrown into pits together. There are no funerals, no prayers, no dignity. Just bodies in a hole. Alright, so I'm following the cart to see where they're taking the bodies. We're leaving the village now and heading into the countryside. The men pulling the cart are silent. They're not talking, not joking, just pulling. This is their job now, collecting the dead. Okay, so we've arrived at the mass grave, and it is worse than I imagined. It's a huge pit, maybe 20 feet wide and 10 feet deep. And it's already half full of bodies. There are dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all piled on top of each other. Some are wrapped in cloth, some are naked, and some are so decomposed I can't even tell if they're human anymore. The men are dumping the bodies from the cart into the pit. There's no ceremony, no respect, just bodies falling into a hole. One of the men is crying. He's trying to hide it, but I can see his shoulders shaking. This is breaking him. All right, so I'm heading back to the village now. I need to see what people are doing to try to stop the plague. Spoiler alert, none of it is going to work. Okay, so I'm at the market now, and there's a man selling plague cures. He's got a table full of bottles and jars, and he's shouting about how his remedies will protect you from the sickness. Let me see what he's selling. All right, so he's got vinegar, which he says you should drink to purify your blood. He's got herbs like rosemary and sage, which you're supposed to burn to cleanse the air. He's got amulets and charms that are supposed to ward off evil spirits. And he's got something called theriac, which is a mixture of dozens of ingredients, including viper flesh, and it's supposed to be a cure-all. None of this works. Vinegar doesn't kill bacteria, burning herbs doesn't purify air, amulets are useless, and theriac is just expensive nonsense. But people are buying it anyway because they're desperate. I just watched a woman spend her last coins on a bottle of vinegar and a bundle of sage. She's clutching them like they're going to save her life. They're not. But I can't tell her that. What would be the point? Okay, so I'm walking through the village again and I just saw something disturbing. There's a group of people wearing white robes and hoods, walking in a line through the streets. They're carrying whips, and they're hitting themselves on the back over and over. Blood is running down their robes. These are flagellants. Flagellants believe that the plague is God's punishment, and the only way to stop it is to punish themselves. So they whip themselves until they bleed, hoping that their suffering will appease God and end the plague. It's brutal, it's pointless, and it's spreading the plague even faster because they're traveling from town to town. All right, so I'm heading to the church now because I want to see how the clergy are handling this. The church is supposed to be a place of comfort and guidance, but I have a feeling it's not going to be. Okay, so I'm inside the church now, and it's packed. People are kneeling, praying, crying, begging God to save them. The priest is at the altar, leading prayers, but he looks exhausted. His face is pale, his hands are shaking, and I can see sweat on his forehead. I think he's sick. I just watched him cough into his hand and then wipe it on his robe. If he has pneumonic plague, he just spread it to everyone in this room. This is how fast it spreads. One cough, one breath, and dozens of people are infected. All right, so I'm leaving the church now because I don't want to get sick. I know I'm supposed to be documenting this, but I also don't want to die in 1347. Let me get some fresh air. Okay, so I'm outside now and I just saw something that broke my heart. There's a little girl, maybe 6 years old, sitting on the steps of a house. She's alone. No parents, no siblings, no one. I asked her where her family is, and she said they're all dead. She's the only one left. This is happening all over Europe. Entire families are being wiped out. Children are being orphaned. Villages are being abandoned. The social fabric is collapsing, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. All right, so I'm heading back to the cottage where I'm staying because I want to check on the family. I'm hoping they're still healthy, but I'm not optimistic. Okay, so I just arrived at the cottage and the father is outside, pacing back and forth. He looks panicked. I asked him what's wrong, and he said his youngest son has a fever. The boy is inside, lying on a straw mat, shivering and sweating. His mother is sitting next to him, holding his hand, crying. I know what's going to happen. The fever will get worse. Swelling will appear in his neck or armpits. He'll start coughing. And then he'll die. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing anyone can do. The father is begging me to help. He's asking if I know any remedies, any prayers, anything that might save his son. I tell him to keep the boy comfortable, give him water, and pray. It's all I can say. It's all anyone can say. All right, so it's evening now, and I'm sitting outside the cottage watching the sunset. The village is quiet, too quiet. There are no children playing, no people talking, no sounds of life. Just silence and the occasional sound of someone coughing in the distance. I've been thinking a lot about what I've seen today. The Black Death is not just a disease, it's a catastrophe. It's the collapse of society. It's the end of the world for millions of people. And the worst part is, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Over the next few years, the plague will kill between 1/3 and 1/2 of Europe's population. Entire cities will be abandoned. Trade will collapse. Farms will be left untended. The economy will crash. And the survivors will be left to pick up the pieces. But here's the thing, the Black Death will also change the world. The massive loss of life will lead to labor shortages, which will give workers more power and better wages. The feudal system will start to break down. The church will lose credibility because people will realize that prayers didn't stop the plague. And Europe will eventually emerge from this stronger, more resilient, and more modern. But that's in the future. Right now, in 1347, all anyone can see is death. Okay, so it's the next morning and I'm checking on the boy. He's worse. The fever is higher, the swelling has appeared in his neck, and he's starting to cough. His mother hasn't left his side. She's holding his hand, whispering prayers and crying. The father is outside, digging a grave. This is the reality of the Black Death. Families watching their loved ones die, knowing there's nothing they can do. Parents burying their children, children burying their parents, and everyone living in constant fear that they're next. Alright, so I'm leaving the cottage now because I can't watch this anymore. I know I'm supposed to document everything, but this is too much. I'm going to walk through the village one more time, and then I'm leaving. Okay, so I'm in the village square now and it's almost empty. There are maybe a dozen people here, and they all look sick. Pale faces, sunken eyes, coughing. The plague is everywhere now. It's in every house, every family, every person. I just saw a man collapse in the street. He was walking, and then he just fell. No one went to help him. No one even looked at him. They're too scared. They know that if they touch him, they might get sick too. So they just walked past him, leaving him lying in the mud. This is what the plague does. It doesn't just kill people. It destroys compassion. It turns neighbors into strangers. It makes people afraid to help each other. It breaks the bonds that hold society together. Alright, so I'm heading to the church one last time because I want to see if the priest is still alive. I have a feeling he's not. Okay, so I'm at the church, and the doors are open. I'm going inside. The church is empty. No people, no prayers, no priest. Just silence. I'm walking toward the altar, and I can see something lying on the floor. It's the priest. He's dead. His body is cold, his face is gray, and there are swellings on his neck. He died alone, in his own church, with no one to pray for him. This is the Black Death. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, young or old, holy or sinful. It kills everyone. Alright, so I'm leaving the church now. I'm leaving the village. I'm leaving 1347. I've seen enough. But before I go, I want to say this. The Black Death was one of the worst disasters in human history. It killed millions of people. It destroyed families, communities, and entire civilizations. But humanity survived. People rebuilt. They adapted. They learned. And they moved forward. The plague taught us about disease, about hygiene, about the importance of science and medicine. It showed us that we're vulnerable, but also that we're resilient. And it reminded us that even in the darkest times, there's always hope. So that's the Black Death 1347. It's brutal, it's heartbreaking, and it's a reminder of how fragile life can be. Thanks for coming with me. See you in the next one.